Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Dibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to another edition of Sixers Film Room. Today, we are going to grade and break down, assess the Sixers offense in 2020, 2021. Before we get started, if you missed out on my defense breakdown, make sure you go check that out. It's over here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. Let's get started. Let's start with the first graph. First, we have offensive rating for the Sixers this season. You look at the trends, a straight maintaining trend for the Sixers. When you look at this graph, you can see two main increasing trends. One from December to the end of February, and then another one from mid-March to the end of April. You can see where the Sixers truly right now in May have clicked. You see that truly increasing trend there at the end of the Sixers season. With 4 games remaining in the season, the Sixers are 13th best in the NBA at 110.9. To break down the offense a little bit further, let's talk about clutch situations. The Sixers currently have the 14th best offensive rating in clutch situations. They finished 52.2% effective field goals in those clutch situations. Let's look at Ben Simmons, 109.3 offensive rating. Let's look at Danny Green's offensive rating, 106.5. Joel Embiid, 112. You look at Seth Curry, 110.1. And my man, Tobias Harris, 113.2, leading the way defensively and leading the way offensively. Tobias Harris in clutch situations has been the rock this entire Sixers season. Let's move on to effective field goal percentage. Let's look at the graph. Another steady maintaining trend for the Philadelphia 76ers. This season, the Sixers finished 13th best, 54.1% on the season. Looking at last year, the Sixers finished 52.9% effective field goal percentage. Again, in the middle of the pack of the NBA. And then we get to offensive rebound percentage and turnover percentage for the Philadelphia 76ers. This you love to see. Look at that slowly decreasing trend in turnovers. You love to see it. Maintaining trend there for offensive rebounding. The Sixers finished 8th best this season with a 27.9 offensive rebounding percentage. For turnovers, not the best. They finished 23rd worst, 14.4%. However, you look at the last 15 games for the Philadelphia 76ers, they finished 13th best, which is 13.1%. So you saw a lot of improvement here from the Philadelphia 76ers and Doc Rivers offense. All right, let's talk about points. The Sixers finished 12th best with 113.8 points per game. That is more than the league average of 112.09. Let's break it down away. The Sixers struggled there, finishing in the bottom third of the NBA away at 110.7 points per game. And then we get to home, where the Sixers truly soared offensively. The Sixers finished with a staggering 117 points per game. That is good for 6th best in the NBA, above the league average of 112.5. Let's take a look at the first quarter. The Sixers scored the 7th most points in the fourth quarter at 29.5. That is more than their 28.8 average in 2019. They had the second best first quarter margin in the NBA at plus 3.6. And then we get to the third quarter. The Sixers finished 19th best at 27.4 points per game and an average margin of 14th best plus 0.1. So you'd love to see the Sixers get it in that first quarter. Let's go on to the second quarter. The Sixers were the 5th best in the NBA at 28.9 points a game. That is more than their 2017 counterpart of 27.3. Their average scoring margin was 13th best at 0.5. And then we get to the fourth quarter, where the Sixers truly shined. Not so much offensively. They finished 19th best at 26.9 points a game, right around their average in 2019 of 26.8. But like we broke down in our previous video on the Sixers defense, the Sixers put on the clamps in that fourth quarter. They had the league best average margin there of plus 1.4 points in that fourth quarter. And then we get to 3-point percentage. The Sixers finished 13th best this season at 37.2%. That is more than 2019, where they finished at 36.2%. While they shot better percentage-wise, They definitely took a lot less threes this season, only 30.1 three-point attempts per game. That is less than 31.5 in 2019. And then we get to catch and shoot numbers. The Sixers finished among the top of the NBA, finishing 38.6% in catch and shoot from three-point range this season. Gotta love that. Last season, they were around the middle of the pack at 37.8%. Overall, I gotta give this Sixers team a B on offense. There were a lot of moving parts this season, whether it was COVID or injuries or stars missing. When you look at the Sixers offense, it's really hard to grade because when the Sixers starters were playing together, they thrived. For example, it's beyond clear that Danny Green is a perfect complementary piece to Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. However, you take one of those guys out and you need a little bit more of Danny Green, that's when the struggles started. It wasn't all good. There were times when the Sixers moved the ball better than anybody in the NBA. The Sixers finished with the second most passes made in the NBA this season of 307.1. However, they finished in the bottom third of the league in assists at 23.4. Their assist to pass percentage this season was second worst in the NBA at 7.6 per game. When this Sixers team is healthy and Ben Simmons is driving and kicking and Seth Curry and Danny Green are hitting their shots, it's a thing of beauty. However, we saw time and time again where the ball movement stopped and the Sixers were at their worst. This is definitely an area that the Sixers need to get right when the playoffs start. Let's talk about interior game. The Sixers led the league in post-ups this season, 15.2 post-ups per game. The second best was the Los Angeles Lakers at 15 post-ups. Rightfully so, the Sixers led the NBA at 9.9 points per game in post-up situations. 65.1% of their points came from post-ups, where the Sixers finished those touches at 55% field goal percentage. The inside-out game of the Philadelphia 76ers is exactly what we all need to be watching come playoff time. The Sixers' pace finished 9th best in the NBA at 102.0. That is up from 2019, where they finished 19th best at 101.3. The Sixers finished 10th best in possessions per game at 103.8, up from their 102.4 mark in 2019. Given how much change we saw over this 2020-2021 season, I can't complain that much. The Sixers finished just outside of the top 10 in the majority of these offensive stats, and I think a B to B plus is very fair for the Philadelphia 76ers. How would you grade the Sixers offense in 2020-2021? Let us know in that comment section below. If you love the Sixers, please be sure to like this video and please be sure to subscribe. It is Dibes, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Stay awesome, everyone.